Deep Space Nine gets a commanding shout-out in the second episode of Star Trek Picard, as the new season makes references to time travel and mirror universe episodes of series past. Here are all the Easter eggs you missed. When Q first appears at the close of the premiere The Stargazer, actor John Delancey appears digitally de-aged as the younger version we've seen before in The Next Generation and Voyager.
Au contraire, mon capitaine! He's back!
But upon seeing Picard in his advanced years, Q snaps his fingers and becomes his older equal. This mirrors most of Q's prior appearances, in which he tended to change his appearance to suit the situation or his own whims. But other littler homages are sprinkled throughout Q's first meeting with Jean-Luc in Season 2. On Q's chest, fans will note a black brooch with a design that is nearly identical to the red and gold pendant he wore in his earliest appearances on Star Trek The Next Generation, a clear callback to days gone by. Likewise, his dialogue includes several fourth-wall-breaking moments, such as when he references Yesterday's Enterprise, the title of a classic TNG episode.
Where are the crew of the Stargazer?
Oh, how quaint. How provincial. How Yesterday's Enterprise of you.
When introducing Picard to the altered reality he's created, he says the words "through a mirror darkly," a phrase from Alice in Wonderland that was previously used in Trek series past to refer to the mirror universe, a parallel reality that is very similar to what we see in Star Trek Picard. Several episodes set in the mirror universe reference the passage, including the Enterprise episode In a Mirror Darkly and the Deep Space Nine episode Through the Looking Glass. As Q gives Picard a brief tour of who he is in this new bizarre altered reality, he leads him into his trophy room, which is packed with Easter eggs and references to the wider Star Trek franchise. One of the first things we see is a Cardassian military uniform, as well as the armor of the Klingon torchbearer seen in Star Trek Discovery. A number of phase rifles, disruptors, and alien weapons hang on the wall, but the most exciting references come with Picard's collection of skulls. Yes, skulls. Among the many lives that Picard has taken is Gul Dukat, the villainous Cardassian who antagonized Captain Sisko on Deep Space Nine. According to Q, Picard killed him during a brutal fight that resulted in this version of Picard needing a synthetic body. Next, we see the skinned head of General Martok, the Klingon warrior from Deep Space Nine who was killed in armed combat after a bioengineered virus decimated the Klingon homeworld. The Vulcan Sarek's skull is also shown upon a pedestal, with the ambassador said to have been decapitated by Picard on the steps of the Vulcan Science Academy in front of his own wife and son, an obvious reference to Spock. A Ferengi skull also shown is likely the Grand Nagus, as his traditional gold-tipped staff is seen mounted beneath it. Though not a mirror universe episode, the dark reality created by Q is as close to it as we've gotten for an adventure of Jean-Luc Picard, who never visited the mirror universe during TNG. The portrait of Picard as a war hero clad in all black and the Confederation as an organization of anti-alien conquerors feels straight out of the original series episode Mirror Mirror. In the Star Trek Enterprise episode In a Mirror Darkly, we even got a twisted, darker opening sequence that turned the series' upbeat intro on its head, subverting its message of hope and optimism into one of fascism and war. In the second episode of Star Trek Picard Season 2, we get something similar, a message from this dark Picard giving an inverted version of the classic Star Trek narration. Instead of seeking out new life and new civilizations and boldly going where no one had gone before, this Picard sought out and subjugated savage civilizations, boldly conquered warlike alien worlds, increased the wealth and resources for future generations of humanity. At the end of the message, this evil iteration of Picard even gives a similar gesture that he was known for on The Next Generation when giving his order to engage. But this time, rather than waving to his helmsman the sign to go to warp, Picard is pointing to potential soldiers and encouraging them to join the fight against alien worlds. In the dark reality, we learn that Seven of Nine was never assimilated by the Borg, and as Annika Hansen has become the president of Earth. Finding herself married to a man she's never met, she attempts to play the part until she can figure out what's going on. She's asked by her husband, who is also a high-ranking administrator in the Earth government, the status of the war on the Vulcan front, and she brings up a display that gives her the details. On the screen, we see that image of Rios, now a colonel in the Confederation, fighting near Vulcan, which is labeled in parentheses as Navarre. Fans of Star Trek Discovery will recall that in the far future where the series is now set, the planet Vulcan had been reunified with their Romulan cousins, and changed their homeworld's name to Navarre to reflect that. Its use here may suggest that in this reality, the Vulcans and Romulans have similarly unified. This seems to be supported by the image of a Romulan bird of prey engaged in battle with the La Sirena elsewhere on the view screen. But the deepest of cuts comes when one pauses to read the description of Rios's mission as the Confederation is preparing to deploy a devastating weapon called the Metreon Cascade. This is the same weapon of mass destruction that was at the center of the Star Trek Voyager episode, Jetrel, and used on the planet Rhinax in the war between the Talaxians and the Hakonian Order. How the Confederation got their hands on a weapon from the Delta Quadrant remains a mystery. During this scene, 7 of 9 is also offered a meeting with General Sisko, this alternate realities version of Deep Space Nine Captain Benjamin Sisko. It's the first on-screen reference to the character in more than 20 years, since he left to join with the Prophets in the series finale of his series. Sadly, it's unlikely Sisko will turn up on Star Trek Picard, as actor Avery Brooks hasn't performed on screen since 2001. Nevertheless, it's good to know that Sisko is out there in this or any other universe. After Q changes history and alters reality into a dark version of the world they know, Picard, Seven, Rios, Rafi, Elnor, and Jurati all wake up without any knowledge of what has happened. The last thing they remember was the Borg's attack on the bridge of the Stargazer and a sudden flash of light. Jurati comes to in a laboratory and is greeted to the sarcastic comments of an artificially intelligent program that's taken the form of an animated cat.
I am Spot 73, your very best friend, of course.
Calling itself Spot 73, this cartoon kitten will surely evoke memories of another cat in Star Trek lore named Spot, Data's beloved pet feline on Star Trek The Next Generation. As Jurati worked on the project to recreate Data's positronic brain in the original timeline, it's entirely possible that she did the same in this new one, and that Spot 73's creation was an ode to Data's cat Spot. Of course, this isn't the first time we've seen artificially intelligent pets created by antisocial genius inventors in Star Trek. Way back in the Star Trek Voyager episode Lifeline, Dr. Louis Zimmerman, the brilliant engineer who created the emergency medical hologram, kept several holographic pets, including an iguana named Leonard and even a housefly named Roy. When the trailers for Star Trek Picard Season 2 first dropped, many fans noticed a key shot of Rios's ship, the La Sirena, flying very close to the sun. Combined with the time travel nature of the story on display, many began speculating that the sequence shown might be the ship using a classic Trek trope, the slingshot effect, to travel back in time. First seen in Star Trek, the original series, during episode Tomorrow is Yesterday, it requires advanced computer calculations with the aid of a highly intelligent co-pilot to achieve a time warp effect by flying close to a star and slingshotting around it. It was used again by Captain Kirk in the episode Assignment Earth, and a third time in the film Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home. Based on the second episode of its second season, it seems that Star Trek Picard will make use of the slingshot effect again. Here, Picard proposes using it to travel back in time to fix whatever Q has done to alter the timeline, even mentioning Kirk by name and how he used the maneuver to visit the past.
Kirk's Enterprise did it on more than one occasion.
However, without Spock to calculate the variable, and with 7 of 9 no longer an ex-Borg who might be able to fill in, they need another high-minded intellect to help them. In a twist of fate, Picard enlists the aid of the Borg Queen, who is a prisoner of the Confederation in this reality. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite movies and TV shows are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.